What if an army could make its enemy shoot at ghosts? Near the Dnieper River, Ukraine pulled off one of the most complex digital sleights of hand ever recorded. 6 drones baiting missile crews, ground robots feeding coordinates, and armored columns breaching before anyone realized what was real. In 60 minutes, China's layered air defense went from confident to blind. Stay with this timeline, because every minute of the strike reveals how modern warfare is changing in real time. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Could 6 small drones really blind China's best short-range air defense in under 10 minutes? That question would be answered in the dark over the Dnieper River. The operation began just after 3 in the morning when 6 Bayraktar TB2s lifted above the mist and leveled out at exactly 9,800 feet. From that height, their sensors could trace every heat point and radio echo coming from the Chinese logistics depot below. A grid of radar dishes, missile trucks and fuel convoys spread across almost 2 square miles. The drones drifted in quiet curves, recording how each radar swept and where its coverage overlapped, feeding the data back to a Ukrainian command post several miles away. On the ground, the Chinese convoy was already awake. Operators moved between HQ-7 missile batteries, Type 95 cannon turrets, and the mobile JY-300 radar stations linked together through fiber lines and satellite nodes. Their screens showed the TB2s flickering on the edge of range, but the signatures looked too small to matter. Analysts expected a heavier assault, maybe a bomber run crossing from the west. The radar picture was too calm, and that calm itself became suspicious. Within minutes, command ordered all batteries to standby mode, locking every launcher on a hair trigger. At 3:11 a.m., 2 radar blips suddenly thickened on the eastern horizon. They carried the wide reflectivity typical of twin-engine bombers, an unmistakable shape, large and slow. The defense grid surged to red alert. Operators believed the strike had begun. HQ-17 missile crews yanked safety pins free, while Type 95 gunners spun their turrets toward the false shapes now climbing higher on the screens. Moments later, the night exploded with light. Missiles shrieked upward, their exhaust carving lines over the valley. Cannon bursts filled the air with tracer rounds that looked almost like falling sparks. Every radar, every communication array went active at once as crews tried to track the supposed bombers cutting into their airspace. But the jets the Chinese network saw were not even in the sky. Ukraine had used a sophisticated radar echo loop to mimic the signal of old Soviet Su-24s. Inflated transponders carried by weather drones bounced those signals back and forth, fooling the sensors into creating 2 Phantom aircraft with bomber-level reflections. As the air defenses unleashed their payloads, Ukrainian intelligence units quietly captured each emission pulse. The spectra and timing revealed exactly where every launcher and radar truck sat, down to the antenna angle. What looked to the Chinese commanders like flawless defense fire was actually a perfect data harvest for the enemy. Inside the Ukrainian electronic warfare van, operators tuned across dozens of frequencies, logging each radar sweep pattern and weapon response time. They marked when batteries reloaded, when communication traffic spiked between vehicles, and when secondary radars tried to lock targets at low altitude. Every movement of the Chinese network became a digital fingerprint. By 3:20, analysts had built a full diagram of the depot's shielding layers. The TB2s stayed on course, invisible to the gunners below, who had switched their focus entirely to ghosts. Through the chaos, none of the defenders realized they had turned themselves into beacons. Each radar dish, each guided missile tracker, broadcast its identity like a flare. The commanders saw the radar display clearing, convinced they had driven off a Ukrainian bomber team. Ground crews began reloading spent missiles, radio chatter calming at last. In their mind, the defense worked perfectly. They had protected the depot. In reality, their firing had drawn a map that Ukrainian planners could now strike with perfect accuracy. 9 minutes after it began, the deception phase ended. The Bayraktars, still circling high above, transmitted the last frequency logs. Every radar source, every battery rotation had been exposed. The sky looked empty again to the Chinese radars, but the battle underneath was already shifting. The clock reset to 3:32 a.m. That was when the first FPV drones appeared over Keren, and Phase 2 officially began. When the first fuel tanker explodes at 3:32 a.m., Ukraine has less than 1 hour to finish the job before China can recover from the ruse. The sound rolls across the valley like thunder. FPV attack drones flash through the smoke, flying low enough that their carbon frames almost skim the grass. Each pilot operates through a live feed strapped to their headset, steering with seconds of reaction time. They stay beneath 120 feet, riding the radar shadows that were carved out hours earlier by the false bomber raid. Those gaps in coverage now serve as invisible corridors, guiding the drones straight toward the depot's heart. Their first target carries over 90,000 pounds of diesel. The impact turns the tanker into a sheet of flame that lights the depot brighter than sunlight. Heat ripples outward, setting off auxiliary fuel drums bombs and illuminating everything the radars can't track. Through the smoky glare, another FPV drone dives straight into an ammunition truck. The blast blows through stacked shells, hurling debris in all directions. Within minutes, secondary fires ignite along a line of parked cargo carriers. The explosion chain tears open the depot's core, forcing operators to abandon their command huts and scramble for cover. Inside the confusion, several squat tracked machines crawl out of earthen trenches. They are autonomous ground robots rigged with thermal imagers and short-range magnetometers. Moving through tunnels and under the burning trucks, they mark bunker doors and gun pits, feeding their coordinates back through encrypted mesh links. Every reading travels by satellite relay to a bank of Caesar 155mm howitzer batteries positioned 12 kilometers away. The fire control software translates the live grid data into exact azimuths and timing orders. At 3:38 a.m., the first artillery salvo arcs in from beyond the horizon. 6 rounds land within 5 meters of the radar trailer that had revealed its signal during the decoy phase. The second volley finds an HQ-7 launcher midway through reloading. Operators never see it coming. The gun flash arrives after impact. By 3:44, 2 launchers and a mobile radar truck are nothing but twisted wreckage. The rest of the air network tries to reset targeting arrays, but that coordination falls apart under new interference. From a nearby relay station, Ukraine's EW division floods every Chinese band with broadband jamming. The radar screens flicker and vanish, leaving missile crews blind again. Voices over command channels break into static, orders delayed or lost altogether. Through the interference, one unmanned platform keeps perfect clarity. A ram, 2 loitering munition, guided through a fiber optic line hidden in a farmhouse more than a mile away, glides toward the depot center. It relies on no radio frequency, immune to all jamming. The munition locks on the mobile command vehicle responsible for coordinating the depot's defenses. Operators inside have no idea a drone is approaching. The strike drops through smoke and haze, impacts on the rear deck, and detonates the bunker beneath it. Flames vent through the underground tunnels, igniting the main ammunition store. The rising explosion lifts concrete doors into the air and sends a halo of burning rockets tumbling across the field. By 4:12 a.m., the assault shifts from remote to kinetic. Leopard 2 A6 tanks push from tree line to front gate, flanked by Bradley M2s advancing through plumes of black smoke. Overhead, Puma drones transmit thermal video of each Chinese position back to the Caesars, adjusting shell fire in real time. Within 6 minutes, the southern gate collapses under sustained fire. Ukrainian armor surges through the gap, while artillery neutralizes the last mortar pit. At 4:18 a.m., the battlefield falls quiet except for crackling flames. The once dense radar grid, which only hours ago guarded millions of pounds of weapons and fuel, now emits nothing at all. The true victory in the Karen strike came long before the explosions. It was measured in seconds. Signals intercepted, decisions accelerated, and defenses blinded before their operators understood the scale of the deception. Ukraine's synchronization of drones, ground robots, and electronic warfare proved that speed now outweighs size in combat value. Traditional defenses built for deliberate sequential battles collapsed under real-time coordination. The Chinese depot's fall was more than a loss of fuel and munitions. It was a collapse of tempo itself. If 1 hour can erase a fortified base, how will major powers survive wars fought faster than they can see?